The new media literacies are a set of skills that everybody needs to deal with our culture today.
To function in the current media environment.
With the internet, with cell phones.
How to interact with information and with culture.
With just the pace of life, which is very different now than it was 20 years ago.
They're the things they need to know to become creative artists, to become citizens, to become workers in the future.
We're at a moment where many of the best ways kids are learning are locked out of schools. They're in a sense de-skilled as they move into the classroom. Our schools, for example, are locking down MySpace rather than bringing MySpace into the classroom and teaching kids to think about social networking in a rational way. And so what we don't want to do is just close the schoolhouse gates and say that's happening there and this is happening here and they're separate kinds of learning. What we want to do is figure out how to build a dialogue across those spaces.
The average American young person spends more than 6.5 hours in front of some sort of screen each day, surfing the web, watching TV, and playing games.
Okay, when you have a novel.
Yet most schools treat the written word as the only means of communication worthy of study. And as a consequence, students remain poorly equipped to think critically about and express themselves through the media they are immersed in every day. A school system that was on the brink of being taken over by the state and is now one of New Jersey's top performing districts.
The reason we got into trouble in 1989 was because we had some of the lowest test scores in the state. They began to improve almost immediately with the changes that took place. Right now, among New Jersey cities, we have the highest test scores.
The changes that drove the district's stunning turnaround included a focus on early literacy,
This story is about a girl named Jenny.
a shift away from drills to project-based learning,
Or you can fit it out.
and the infusion of technology in every facet of the curriculum.
Buzz, buzz, said the fly.
A project that has a lot of different elements to it jibes really well with a lot of the goals of media literacy, because we want for students to realize that there are all kinds of nodes being pushed, all kinds of different aspects to what they're learning about and what they're addressing when they make media or they think about media.
To gain the tools, to gain the techniques, the understanding, the grammar, to then be able to take that and apply that not only to a film they see from Denmark or Iran or these animated films that they start with, but to apply it to the 7 o'clock news, to apply it to the advertising that they see, to apply it to the internet sites that they go on and the webcasts.
Well, I realized this. It's like if you look at this picture, you feel sorry for the soldiers, and that kind of makes you want to support the war. But then if you look at this picture, you feel sorry for the Iraqi people, and that makes you think that the war isn't necessary.
What's promising is they allow you to do something that we haven't been able to do very well before, and that is to show people what things mean, not just tell them. We can put you into a goal-directed world in which which you're directed to goals and directed to solving problems, and you can see what complicated language means, how it actually applies to do something when you have a challenge or a goal. And we can deliver forms of teaching that go well beyond traditional teaching. The game design itself can become a teacher. We can build in forms of mentorship. Many games, almost all games today, come with a community as well. If you play a game like Portal, you actually have to use the law of conservation of momentum to get through the game. It's a commercial game. But you can immediately go into a whole community playing Portal that will explicate all the physics of that law for you. Right? So nobody's giving you a lecture. They're actually showing you what this complicated concept means, showing you how the complicated language it comes with is tied to action and problem solving, and then supplying with the community that will give you mentorship, so that you are simultaneously building up digital skills and quite traditional literacy skills.
Kurt Squire and David Williamson Schaffer research educational games at the University of Wisconsin. In one study, Squire gauged the impact of the game Civilization on a group of 4th, 5th, and 6th graders.
A lot of the kids come in hating school, and in particular really hating social studies. And we start them off just playing the game for fun, seeing if they can't get involved in the game. It's really quite complex. There's a lot of historical vocabulary, a lot of maps, a lot of terminology. They start to think about the model as a simulation of history that they can think with. So they start thinking about how does technology and geography influence the way civilizations grow and fade. From there, we find they usually start producing their own games, and all of them now that we work with have gone to straight A's in social studies and other areas. And these are 10, 11.
These technologies allow younger and younger people to be experts, to do stuff they could not have done at that level before they got these technologies, and especially when they get into the right communities or they have parents helping them or mentors helping them. And as we get better ways to let kids be productive experts and have passion and develop skills that really translate into abilities for the future world, we maybe want to get rid of this distinction between formal and informal learning.
We have technologies that can help kids learn in new ways, and we can essentially build models of what an education for the future might look like. And my hope in doing that is that parents and teachers and school board members and kids and politicians and all of us will look at what happens in these environments and say, wow, why can't school be more like that?
You're going to have 3 choices for what you want to work on during this class.
Seeing their potential to transform public education, the Federation of American Scientists has called for a major federal effort to fund serious games.
The potential here is so huge that it just seems a national shame that we're not putting the money on the table to find out if this is right. But the payoff is spectacular. You have to think about using this technology that could actually completely transform productivity in education and get people who are otherwise be uninterested or underserved by this system fully engaged. We just can't afford to leave anybody behind.
That's like geography.
I think the advances in technology these days are going to allow the gaming and simulation community to create simulations of anything. And when we can deploy that over the internet, we will then have on every desktop the best teacher in the world available to every student.
Good games are really compelling for their players, to the point that people are worried about addiction and things. And it's ironic. Imagine is there a world in which we'd have addiction to school? Someone would walk in saying, "I'm addicted to learning. I need more."
Woo! So rather than just asking questions of creators, we're now also having to ask questions about ourselves.
What do we need to participate? What skills do we need now?
One example of skill might be judgment, where you find some information online and you need to be able to decide whether that information is reliable or not.
Negotiation means knowing how to enter into different groups and different spaces and knowing how to understand what the different norms are.
Appropriation, how do I remix and sample content in a meaningful way?
One of my favorite skills is play, which we define as the capacity to experiment with your surroundings as a form of problem solving.
Transmedia navigation.
Simulation. Collective intelligence.
Performance. Distributed cognition and visualization.
Multitasking.
They're not just skills for the classroom, and they're not just skills for the workplace. They're skills that involve creative expression. They're skills that involve citizenship. They're skills that connect people together at something larger than the individual levels.
Learning new skills, new competencies to make really great things and be full participants.